What is up, YouTube? How you guys doing? Happy Thursday. So, the rumor mill in Clemson right now is worse than a woman's knitting circle. There's several publications out there that are reporting that there's several firings in the underway right now. Number one, offensive coordinator Garrett Riley. Number two, safeties coach Mickey Kahn. That's the two I've heard so far. You've got several publications saying this is an amicable split, that both of these coaches are already interviewing for other jobs. I even heard one publication say that Garrett Riley has already interviewed for an offensive coordinator job for some team in the SEC. They didn't say which school that was. But my point here is there's been no official announcement from Clemson University or Dabo Swinney or anybody. It's a lot of rumors. Now, I will say this. I'd be shocked if they don't fire Garrett Riley. The Mickey Kahn thing, I'm less confident about, but the safeties were a giant liability this year, and in crucial moments in games, they just got torched. But look, there could be as many as 4 or 5 firings on his coaching staff this year, and there could be none. Here's the reason I'd be surprised about this. Let's focus on Garrett Riley for a second. The reason I think it will be very unlikely that Garrett Riley does not get fired, if you go back last year and you look at the interaction between Dabo and his coordinators on the sideline in big games, we saw him lay in to Wes Goodwin multiple times on the sideline. And what ultimately ended up happening at the end of the season was obviously Wes Goodwin gets fired and Clemson goes out there and hires Tom Allen from Penn State. We saw the same exact thing happen this year in big games, close games. Clemson would get down inside the 15, inside the 10-yard line, and they would just crap all down their own leg. And Dabo would go over there and chew out Garrett Riley. And also, Dabo said something very interesting following one of the losses. I believe it was when we lost to SMU. I can't remember. There were so many bad losses. But anyway, he said that he lost his instinct, and he started letting outside influences influence his decisions. Whether that was somebody in the athletic department or big-time money donors, I don't know. But if you look at the history of Dabo Swinney's hirings over his tenure, he's been at Clemson a long time, he obviously handpicked Chad Morris, offensive coordinator. He obviously handpicked Tony Elliott and Jeff Scott. When they were gone to take jobs elsewhere, he obviously handpicked Brandon Streeter, which didn't work out. And I think at that time, there was a lot of pressure on him, probably from donors and maybe some other people inside the program, to go out and get Garrett Riley. Because at that time, Garrett Riley was a shiny new coin. TCU had just went to the playoffs. They had a Heisman candidate quarterback. They had an amazing offense, and he was one of the hottest commodities at the time. I don't think that Dabo Swinney really wanted Garrett Riley to begin with. That's my theory. Obviously, I have no idea what goes on inside of Dabo Swinney's mind. That's my belief, though. So I do believe that I'd be highly surprised if Garrett Riley is the coach in 2026, the offensive coordinator in 2026. On the defensive side of the ball, I think there will be at least one or multiple firings, and Mickey Kahn is at the top of that list. But if you think about what happened when Tom Allen came in, Wes Goodwin gets fired, Tom Allen gets hired. Tom Allen came in and inherited the entire roster and the entire coaching staff. I think the only coach that was hired after Tom Allen got there on the defensive side of the football was Ben Boulware, the linebackers coach. So what I would want and what I would expect Dabo to do, he's done a pretty good job of this over the years, especially on the defensive side of the ball, because Dabo's not a defensive guy, is to let Tom Allen come in there and make the coaching changes that he wants to make and mold the defense in the way in his own image. In other words, that fits the style of his defense based as opposed to what was there already with Wes Goodwin and before him, Brent Venables. So that's what I would expect. I believe Dabo. I mean, for better or for worse, I believe Dabo when he says that he's going to stop letting outside influences influence his decision. Now, for better or for worse, Clemson has put themselves in this situation. Dabo actually has the leg up here. They're the ones that gave Dabo the contract, and he said 100 times this year, if you want me gone, I'll go coach somewhere else. I'm going to do things my way, whether you like it or not. I'm the one that got us to the point where we're at. Again, it just has nothing to do with whether you agree with the way Dabo Swinney runs his program in 2025 and 2026 or not. The bottom line is he's got the cards. He's got all the cards. Because he can do what he wants to do and say, if you don't like it, fire me and pay me $60 million, which Clemson is not going to do. I'm not convinced they want to do it. And I don't really think that a terrible season, I mean, there really is no excuse for a team in 2025 that was as loaded as Clemson was, with veteran players, good players, to barely be bowl eligible. I mean, there's really no excuse for that at all. But Dabo holds all the cards here. It's up to him to fix it. He's getting paid the money to fix it, and he needs to fix it. And the first step in fixing it is making some coaching changes. In my opinion, it's making coaching changes and allowing your coordinators to do what you hired them to do, which I think he's been pretty good at for the most part over the years, especially on the defensive side of the football. So, again, there's been no official announcement from Clemson, from Dabo, that Garrett Riley's gone. There's just a lot of noise, a lot of rumors around that say that he's out the door and he's already interviewing other places. I hope that's true. I don't have a problem with Garrett Riley, the person. I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm sure I'd love to sit down and have a beer with him, and he'd be funny and awesome. And I'm sure he's a great dad, and I'm sure his kids love him, and I'm sure his wife loves him, and I'm sure the players that he coaches love him. But none of that matters when you're getting paid millions of dollars to win football games. How good of a person you are just doesn't matter. I just don't like Garrett Riley's entire philosophy of offense. That's all it is. I think Clemson could do better. I would like to know from you Clemson fans out there that are watching. Let's say that Garrett Riley does get fired, which I do think he will be. But let's just assume that he is going to get fired. Who would be your dream team, top 3 coordinators to take over for Garrett Riley? And it doesn't just have to be a current coordinator at a Power 4 team. It could be a group of 5 guy who's a head coach or a coordinator in the group of 5. It could even be an NFL coordinator. We see a lot of jumping back and forth between college and the NFL these days. You see a lot of guys that leave college to go be coordinators in the NFL. You see a lot of guys in the NFL jump back to college. So this is not, I mean, there's a big range out there of possible candidates. If you had to sit down and make a list of your top 2 or 3 guys that you would like to see replace Garrett Riley if he does get fired, who would those names be? I would be interested to hear that. And it goes without saying, I hope that Dabo, if Garrett Riley does get fired, which he should, I hope he makes the right decision. And I want to see Clemson be relevant again in 2026 and beyond. And that's going to start with coaches. Obviously, players matter, right? So players matter too. But it starts with coaching and it starts with players. And I mean, you've got the players you got, whether you signed them yesterday in the signing day or whoever you can get possibly out of the transfer portal. But the coaching, it starts at the top. So I obviously hope that Dabo Swinney and this and Clemson football program as a whole makes the right decisions in the coaching search this offseason. So let me know what you think. Hit the thumbs up, the whole deal, the hype button, and all that. I'll see you guys later.